Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Cheats Movement podcast, as always brought to you by the Family Podcast Network. I am joined by a legendary guest. I'm so excited. The owner, founder, CEO, all things to the legendary shop, West Coast Customs, Ryan Friedlinghaus. Welcome to the Cheats Movement.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you, not just for your long history and running one of the most legendary shops in all of the nation, but I'm excited to talk to you about what's happening immediately. This weekend, you will be here in Richmond, Virginia, the Cookout 400. You're doing something very special with NASCAR 2311. Tell us all about it.
So it's been a long time coming. I guess we should start there, right? Like I've been
Right.
trying to figure out, what's the right move, what's the way for me to get in with NASCAR, just because, one, I'm a huge fan.
That's what I heard. I heard you didn't even like any other sports. Like,
No,
this was
I
your
only
sport.
watch NASCAR.
That's
So,
crazy.
let's be real. Let's be real. And then I'm like, how do we, what can I do to kind of help the sport? Like, what can I bring to the table that isn't just me bringing some cars out and just hanging out? And that's when, I came up with the idea of doing this West Coast Customs experience where we'll be building a car live in our space, in the NASCAR fan zone, which is pretty crazy because, I do it at SEMA every year. It's like once a year we build a car live and fans get to watch and work alongside us. This one's a little bit bigger and better because, of course, it's with NASCAR, but we're also teamed up with Toyota and we're building a Camry live that's going to replicate what the Cup car looks like, but also have a lot of cool little things added to it to just make it like a West Coast Customs edition, Toyota Camry that has some love from 2311, has some love from NASCAR, and of course has a couple of things from West Coast Customs on it.
And I saw some of the design early, some of the renderings, but this is something where, like you said, it's really a unique situation because you're bringing a whole shop across the country, and you're going to build this car it's going to look like a replica of one of the 2311 cars that's going to take the track, right?
Yep. That's really what the plan was in the beginning. And it's really to see it all come together now is pretty amazing. This car is coming to the track stock and it's going to leave looking like that rendering you saw. And the fun part about it is fans will be able to, watch us do it on Saturday. We have some kids from some local schools that are going to be helping us out. And, it just kind of brings the vision to reality, but it also shows like the youth, like this is something, you could really get involved with and be a part of and, hopefully build my academy even bigger.
I wanted to touch on that because you're right. There are kids, CTE program kids from the Richmond region that will actually be helping out the team. I don't know your background in education. I know you've been doing this for a long time, but it seems really complicated. How is that going to work? How are Richmond region kids from engineering programs going to be able to help the team?
They're going to be the extra set of hands. We're going to teach them the way we do stuff. The fun thing about this is we got everything pre-built and ready to go. So we're going to be, disassembling the car, reassembling the car, wrapping it, putting the new wheels and tires on it, doing the exhaust. So they'll be able to work alongside my guys and, help them along the way. But, a little bit deeper into that is we started a West Coast Customs Academy program recently, locally out here in Burbank, where we bring kids from high school to come work alongside the guys and build cars. So this is something that I see, as a need and a void in our industry where, kids don't think this is an opportunity and don't think it's an opportunity they can make a lot of money because I think it's not offered to them in high school. So being able to just extend that and expand just that vision to the kids is something that I'm super passionate about.
I'm super excited for it too, because I think it's just another bridge and another opportunity for our kids to see something at such a high level that they've never seen before and they'll be able to work on. I do have to ask, I was going to ask this later, but since you brought it up, I'm going to ask it now because my math in my mind is not, look, it's not always mathing because I'm looking at this and I'm saying if West Coast Customs started, give or take, around 2003, and I won't date you, but I know we're around the same age. You might be a couple years older than me, but I'm doing the math in my mind. You had to start working on cars. I'm thinking you had to, like, you're opening shops at 18, 19. So you had to start working on cars since birth. How did that bug come to, how did that happen? Because I mean, again, we're talking about high school students, but you yourself, Ryan, had to be doing this pretty much since you were born.
In high school. Well, I mean, it's crazy is like I do what I do because I had wood shop and auto shop in school, you know?
Really? That's amazing.
Not really open my eyes to like the possibility of what you can do. And I think at the end of the day, I see a vision and I see the way I want something to look. And I found ways to get it done, you know, and there, it wasn't book driven. It wasn't going to college to figure this out. It was just using your hands and building stuff. And, you know, this is my 30th anniversary. So we started in 93. So
all right, look, now I'm going to ask you today, when you started that first shop, how old were you?
I think I was 19.
That's crazy. Yeah. I was doing the math and I was like, wait a second, my man. Wait a second. That's crazy.
So I've been doing it my whole life. This has been my life.
That's phenomenal. Now, I know I know you were working with NASCAR. Tell us a little bit about the journey, because we were talking before we came on just briefly. This is not something that was a flash idea. This has been 12 years in the making to get done. How did the back and forth happen?
It's just funny as I like look back now at the deck that I presented them 12 years ago. And it's
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's literally the same deck.
That's awesome.
Obviously new graphics, but it's the same deck I presented, you know, last year to get at people excited. I think, you know, for me, it's just like, what can I bring to the table? Like I said before, is like, what can I bring my fans? Can I bring a different viewership to the sport? You know, can I show the kids that this is an opportunity to be able to build cars live? Like, there's just so many things that, you know, I always wanted to do. And I felt I could bring some energy to the fan zone. And this is going to be our first opportunity to finally do it. And hopefully next year, you'll see a lot more of me.
That's fantastic. But this is not the first time that I've seen you, because I was at the Richmond race a little bit earlier this year and last year. And I believe you and your team has already been to Richmond. What was it that you were looking for kind of the first time you came to the Richmond track? Did you already know that you were coming for this experience, and were you just kind of scouting it out? What about Richmond seems to be the Richmond Raceway to make this work for West Coast Customs?
It was just, I mean, Lori's amazing. Like, just being able to have a vision with somebody that shared it and was like, hey, how can we really bring this to life? I think that was obviously, that was the first check, right? It's like, she loves us. This is a great track. There's fans out here that don't get to see me because, you know, it's far away from California. So it's like, there's a fan base out there that I get to touch that I don't, you know, typically get to, because everything we do is more local. Yep. So I felt like being further away was a great move. NASCAR, you know, this is a NASCAR track, so they felt this is the right track. It just all came together. And when we went out there, we went out to scope it and just kind of see where we're going to lay things out and, you know, how we're going to make it happen. But we came back and went straight to work.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then tell me a little bit about the partnership with 2311, because I know the driver's name is escaping me at the moment, but I know you and Tyler Reddick, your team and Tyler Reddick has had a little bit of a working relationship as well. What was it about 2311 that made this work in Tyler in particular?
I mean, I love 2311 just because I feel like out of all the brands out there, they think outside the box. So we felt this idea and this opportunity made sense for them. And, you know, they teamed us up with Tyler, and then I became friends with Tyler and realized he's like a car guy and loves cars. I mean, most drivers are, right? But it was cool because he works on his own car. So he was able to come in, work with me on the car here at the shop. He gave me some
really?
ideas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have a lot of content that we'll be releasing right after.
That's fantastic.
So it was cool, you know, and he got to kind of hang out with me, and I got to know him a little bit more and realize like he loves, you know, building cars. He had his son recently, so, you know, some of that went away, but he's like, man, I love it. So he was a big inspiration on some of the stuff we did. And, you know, when it came to 2311, just as a team, they're like, we want you to design this car the way you would design it, you know, not typically what you would see out there on the track. So they allowed us to, you know, have some free reign with that. And it was fun. I think it was just a great partnership, I think, overall.
Perfect. Now I'm going to ask you pretty much similar to what they asked you. As a NASCAR fan, somebody that's been following the sport, understand the cars, understand the engineering, understand the design, Now they're saying, Ryan, you get a chance to build your own car. What's the first thing you would want to see or from a car in a sport that you've been following for such a long time?
I mean, I think when I had the conversation with them last year about this, it was like the Gen 1 car, it's like this is the next gen, like people aren't really typically loving it. The drivers aren't liking it. Like
I think that's more of a NASCAR thing.
No, for sure, because
they don't like change.
No, nobody likes change, right? But I look at the car and I'm like, damn, this car is dope now.
Right,
like,
right.
The wheels are bigger. Like it had a vibe now.
Right.
Where I looked at it and was like, how do we make a kit that can represent this car that we can sell at a dealership level? And that was really where I was going with this. Is like at the end of the day, it's like, how do we get Toyota Camry owners to be able to say, I could put this kit on my car and it could look like a cup car. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's thinking like that. So I look at this as a long-term, thing that we can build as a partnership. But the car itself is like, it's amazing. So I took everything off that car and just basically figured out a way to put it onto a Camry, a stock Camry.
Now you're you're a design guy and an engineer guy. Like you're a whole like car person and have been doing it for a very long time. So I'm going to ask in this way, would you be interested in being one of those guys that has to build the car that actually runs on the track? Like build it not just for design, but build it for speed and win races.
I would love to. Yeah. I mean, I'm up for any challenge. You know that.
It's interesting because I'm assuming people think of, when they think of West Coast Customs, they think of like the exterior, right? They think of all the things that you can do to make the design look, some of the innovation, even as revolutionary as it is, they kind of take it for granted. But you're a car guy. And the key here is winning races, right? Yeah. Like the key is to put a car on the track that wins races. And I don't think enough people really put enough emphasis on how hard that is. Like the crew, like the engineers and the crew and the testing. And it's like, how do you make it go faster, right?
Yeah. It's insane. I would just love to just be a fly on the wall in that shop. You know what I mean? And just see how things go. I mean, I visited tons of the different workshops. Sure. And it's like I got majorly inspired just with this new building I got recently. I mean, I say recently, 10 years ago, but like I designed it thinking of like a NASCAR shop, because when I went there and visited, it's like they have this catwalk that goes down the center of their workspace so people could do tours and be able to look around, but not bother, the workflow that's happening down there. And that's literally what I did here at my building.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, so, I'm majorly inspired by those guys, man.
Let me ask this. Because I do, it's a whole fan experience. It's not just that I know there's a West Coast Customs kind of fan experience ticket that they can do some really special things. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think they'll be able to tour some things with you, see the car built, or do a meet and greet or something of that nature. So there's a whole West Coast Customs experience. I know they get a really sweet West Coast Customs design hat as well. Tell the fans a little bit about, if they're interested in the West Coast Customs package, what do they get in Richmond?
Yeah, it's definitely super special. We put it together where they could feel, maybe they're not part of the team building the car, but be able to get behind the scenes, really. You know what I mean? Get to hang out with me for a little bit. They get this hat that my son actually designed that we only made 100 of them.
Oh, wow.
So it's like,
very
it's a
cool
edition, cool, something cool to be able to keep, and then be able to come see the car being built and kind of see what's going on, play by play, and just really hang out with us and be a part of the kind of like the backstage, and there's only, I think there's only 100 of them available.
That's fantastic. So if anybody's listening to this, you'll still have time to pick up the West Coast Customs package at NASCAR. You'll be able to meet Ryan and the team. You'll be able to see the car being built. It's a 2-day experience in regards to the car building, right? Are you going to be building on both Saturday and Sunday, or are you going to be building like the 29th and 30th, or just one day? It's just going to be Saturday.
Yeah, we're pushing hard to have it done by Saturday. So
Sunday people can look at it. Yeah.
And then Sunday morning, we're hoping that this thing's going to go on the track. So, fingers crossed.
Now, I recently was able to drive a NASCAR, not very fast, around the Richmond Raceway. I was able to do it. Shout out to the wonderful team over there. It was not my calling. I've realized that I do a lot of things well. This was not it. Have you driven a NASCAR around the track?
No, I'm good. I'm like you. I sat in one for the first time, and it's crazy. it was crazy. Like back in, I don't know, 15 years ago, like I wanted my son to be a NASCAR driver, and he was like go-kart racing, and I'm like, he's gonna be
Yeah,
a NASCAR driver, right? And I
yeah.
sat in one of those cars, and I was like, yo, like, nah, I don't want him doing this. Like, I got major anxiety.
Well, yeah, I was able to do it. I was able to do it in Richmond, and they tell you the car is designed to go fast, and the car is designed to turn left, so it's going to hug this track. I had no last time I was at Richmond was the first time I was ever able to walk on the track, so I had no idea how curved they are. Like
Yeah,
the tracks are
angle is
curved,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
hugged. I think I was going as strong like 65, 70. Like because
That's all right.
they were like go faster. I was like, bruh, I'm not
No,
even trying.
I'm
I'm not
good.
trying to do. I'm not
I'm
trying to
good.
do that. But I'll tell you, Richmond is such a unique place. The track is such a unique track. The history, Richmond has a pretty strong. It's a growing history. It's not as old as some of the other tracks in the South, but it is getting there. Like you said, we have a tremendous leadership and innovative thought, and so that's why we're so excited about having West Coast Customs, having you and your team come down, because the name of the game has always been for 30 plus years for you has been innovation.
Yeah.
Where are you now as in 2023? What more can you do when it comes to customizing, designing, building cars from the ground up? Like what like I know there people are always thinking of what's next, but as you look at the landscape now, where do you see innovation going with car design?
I mean, it's crazy, and that's where I kind of sit back and I look at, like, I've accomplished so much and achieved so many of my goals. It's like, what is next? This whole electric version and all this stuff's going, getting rid of gas and making electric
Sure.
cars be a thing here in California. Like, we've gotten into that a little bit with taking, classic cars and converting them into electric cars. But really, really, I think my passion in my next chapter is this school, is
Mhm.
really building this shop into like a full-blown school, to where I can teach 100 150 kids a year in this industry, that I can put them out there and put them in jobs and really help fix the void we have with trying to find good help.
I was
So
gonna say, I bet you've seen a lot of like ebbs and flows over your career in regards to when engineering was hot and car design was hot. And then obviously, not only, I just remember doing some research, not only obviously the recent pandemic, but you've gone through economic ups and downs in regards to the industry, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, we're
it
going
just,
through it again right now. It's crazy. And it's like, you got to find new ways that, to
yeah.
kind of reinvent yourself and do different things. But I've just kind of stayed on that path of, when things are, dropping here, we can kind of go over here. And
Yeah.
I think ultimately, with the school, and I'll send you the video of the last class I did to
Oh,
kind of
I'd
give
love to see it. Yeah, absolutely. I'd
a
love
little
to
bit
post it.
of insight on that, because it was cool. It was really cool. It kind of gave me that feeling of purpose again. You build cars and you build stuff for celebrities and wealthy individuals, but you don't really sometimes get that a sense of appreciation when you do teach somebody something and give them that thing I never had. Like, nobody ever showed me how to do this. Like, nobody told me
Wow.
to go. So I feel like that's what I need to do moving forward.
That's that's awesome to hear. And I do want to ask before we get out of here, because I always wonder when people are kind of at the top of their game, and obviously you've had to switch gears a lot and wear a bunch of different hats. See, even when the business picks up versus actual doing the actual work. Like, I know it starts with you doing the work. And then somehow you look up and you're like, oh crap, I'm the CEO. I've got to run this business. Right. How do you get better? Like, how do you work on your skills? How do if the students ask you, hey Ryan, how do you improve? Because you've been kind of sitting in this lane for such a long time. What do you do? I don't know if you go back and revisit courses. Like, what do you
Yeah, no,
do to
I
stay
mean,
sharp?
it's crazy to say that. I don't, I try to keep really good people around me, that
Mm,
can help, balance out what I don't know or what I need to learn more of, because I never say I know everything. It's like I started this knowing nothing. I started this with no money, no really skill set. It was just like, this was something I wanted to try to do. And, I found ways to make it work, and I put good people around me to be able to help me achieve things that, typically maybe I couldn't do, but I had a
mm.
vision of what I wanted it to look like or what I wanted it to, work like. And I found ways to just adapt and make things happen.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you two last questions to get you out of here, and they're both going to be fun. Going back through your entire NASCAR fandom. So I know now it's it's low hanging fruit to say 2311. So let's take them out. If you could sit along a car in a race and ride alongside any driver, who would you pick? No, I'm not current. I mean, current or historic. Who's the guy you'd want to sit next to and just kind of see how they drive in a NASCAR
Jimmy
race?
Johnson all day.
Who's this?
Jimmy Johnson all day.
What is it about Jimmy Johnson?
I don't know. He was just my guy. He was always my guy, you know?
Very nice.
I just love, he's a great family guy. He's a great driver. He lays down some major history where others couldn't. He pushed the lines, which I feel, I got to spend some time with him. I built him a car, and,
nice.
We got some similar passions in drive for sure.
That's awesome. That's a good answer.
I would trust him to drive me.
And then, and when you talk about the teaching thing, the last thing I'll ask you is just the best advice you've ever got. So you're teaching a lot of young people now. I know they're coming up to you every day and asking how they can be the next Ryan. What do you tell them in regards to what's the best advice you can give them?
You got to follow your passion. It's like your passion is everything. I tell people this all the time. It's like, I don't want kids to come here like already knowing how to do something. I want them to have a passion for this industry and automotive, and I can show them the different things throughout my course of what's out there that they can do, whether it's a painter or doing upholstery or doing design or doing audio, and give them the opportunity to work on that stuff, because then they can come back and say, this is what I really want to do. So I think everything starts with passion. You got to believe in your dreams and just keep pushing.
That is awesome. We're going to leave it there. Ryan, I will hopefully see you. I'm pretty certain I will see you out there building a car with your team and a bunch of kids from the Richmond region on Saturday. If you have time still, make sure you check out the Cookout 400 is going to be Sunday. There's going to obviously be a weekend of activities or NASCAR. I am a new convert in that sense. Lori and the team over there at NASCAR invited me out to a race last time out. I was able to take my 8-year-old son, and I was able to tell our audience how different, like, the perception is not the reality. And when I talk about what the experience was like, I found the experience to be something that was definitely intriguing and enlightening. And I encourage people to check it out. And I encourage people to check out everything West Coast Customs, especially in Richmond this weekend. Ryan, it's been an honor to chop it up with you, and I can't wait to see you this weekend.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Cheats Movement podcast. Until next time.